everybody. Welcome to my little yoga room. I just thought I'd put together a class that I could put online for anybody. So I guess if you're watching this, you're bored enough to do yoga or wanting to move. So, and I'm really glad that you found it. Whoever you are, if I know you, then I miss you. And if I don't know you, then I hope this is useful for you. I'm just going to put a little class together, a chair yoga class. We'll get into the breath to start with, as always, and then we'll, from there, we'll just do some gentle movements, kind of going from the crown of the head all the way down to the toes, so we get a little movement in our body. Everything's optional, so if something doesn't feel right in your body, there's no need to do it. And if something feels good and you want to stay there for longer, then that's the beauty of a recording, is that you can just stop it and take as much time as you like. If you need to rest at any point, rest. And if you want to add on some things, then you can do that too. This is your own class. So anyway, so we'll get going, and yeah, I guess we'll get going. Okay, so make sure that the chair you're sitting on is stable. So if you wiggle from side to side, you don't feel like you're going to fall off it. You're welcome to use the support at the back of your chair if you like to. Otherwise, I encourage you to come forward a little if that feels okay in your body and stable enough. So we start to just get the core engaged just by holding our own body upright. Feet are a comfortable distance or hip distance apart, whatever feels good for you. And your knees more or less over your ankles. And from there, I'm going to pick up, whether you've got shoes on or socks, it doesn't matter. We're going to pick up the feet and spread the toes nice and wide. And then from there, rooting down through the toe mounds, with the heels on the floor, the balls of the feet. And then we're going to, with those spread toes, take the toes down to the earth as well. And we start to get this connection, this rooting down to the floor. Now if you wiggle from side to side, kind of feel that you're supported underneath your seat. So from there, we do the same thing with the toes. We kind of get nice and rooted down through the seat. So imagine that your hips and all around the lower belly and the lower back could soften just a little. And then from that, rooting down, there's a lifting, a rebounding kind of up through the spine, through the heart. The heart lifts, the crown of the head as if it's nudging up towards the sky. And collarbones can fall soft as the shoulders get a little heavier. And you could notice here if you're pulling forward or leaning back a little, and maybe a kind of rule of thumb, head, heart, and hips in one line, or the shoulders over your hips more or less. And if that feels too much for you, then just simply come to a comfortable position where you feel like you can sustain it as we get into the breath. In your own time. And you can keep your eyes open, you can close them, you can lower your gaze or just simply let everything go soft focus, or maybe that just means taking off your glasses for some of you. I know it would for me. We're going to take a full breath in, whatever that means for you. And exhale it out. We've got another 2 or 3 of those to do. So full inhale. Exhaling it out, and start to let everything start to calm down. We start to give ourselves permission, and just for a little bit of time to let everything outside in the big wide world be. Tune in and allow yourself this time to just take time to breathe, to move. And then we let the breath come back to an easy breath, whatever that means for you. And that'll be different for all of us. If it feels comfortable, you can bring the lips softly together, start to breathe in and out through the nose. But if that's not there for you, then no big deal. And drop your awareness inwards. just check in here. Notice how you're feeling. And given the circumstances, there's probably a whole lot that you're feeling. And is it okay if you just simply allow that to be without wanting it to be different? Just really being honest with yourself about how you're feeling. Notice emotions that are very present. And then take your awareness up to the crown of your head. And then we'll allow the awareness to glide down through the body, noticing those familiar places, the places that the body is loud, the places that have those sensations that we are familiar with, but also allow your awareness to settle into places that you have little or even no awareness to. We all have those places. And just simply notice what's present. If you come across muscle tension, and allow that muscle tension to soften, or simply send a whole package of softness to that area. As the awareness glides down through the body, you can do that a couple of times if you like, if you find it useful. Just noticing without needing to change. Once you come all the way down to the soles of your feet, we'll gather the awareness now, a gentle awareness into the breath, just as your breath is. No need to change it. Although when we notice the breath, the first thing we do is start to change the breath, so it's no big deal either. And however your breath is, maybe invite a little deeper inhale, a little longer exhale. Without a forcing, more of an allowing, a deeper inhale, a longer exhale. It doesn't have to look a particular way. There's no goal in mind. And you might feel that some parts of the breath are really sticky. That's okay. And then once we've established a length of breath, we start to steady the breath out. So from the bottom of the inhale to the top, we smooth the breath as best as we can. And from the top of the exhale to the bottom, we steady that breath out too. So we start to inhale and exhale in a way that the breath starts to feel even. Not that the inhale and the exhale have to be the same length by any means, but there's a smoothness to the breath. And there'll be choppy places for sure, no big deal, we just do our best. So we have these longer, smoother inhales, longer, smoother exhales. And once you've established that, and again, you can pause this at any time to stay a little longer. But otherwise, with these longer, smoother inhales and exhales, I invite you to do about 5 or 10% less effort in your body. So less effort in the breath. We just let that go a little. The outer edges of your body soften. It's a little softer quality. And so we have these longer, smoother, softer inhales, longer, smoother, softer exhales, as best as we can make it. You can even start to count how long your inhales take and count how long your exhales take, if that helps you start to establish a rhythm. And again, don't worry about the numbers. We all count differently, we all breathe differently. There's not a magical number here. But just getting used to your own rhythm of breath. And that's going to be very different from everybody else. Again, checking into your body. If you notice that tension is arriving in different places, allow those places as best as you can to simply soften as many times as you need to do that throughout the movement. And so we have our breath. So we root down once more through our feet, through our seat, and lift up from there. And then with the very tip of your nose. If you're starting to draw circles in the air in front of you, you're going to start to allow the movement to come. But the movement mirrors the breath. So the inhale lifts the nose, the exhale draws it down. And this movement does not have to be big or small. We're adapting or changing it for our own bodies. And that's going to look different for each of us. We're all put together differently and sensations are different with different movements. The inhale lifts the nose, the exhale draws it down. And start small. And then the option is to adapt the movement from there. And if that means resting, then resting is a perfect place to be. If that means making those spirals a little bit bigger or a whole lot bigger, you can do that too. Always staying with the breath though. The inhale, longer, smoother and softer. The exhale, longer, smoother and softer. And now the movement as well is longer, smoother and softer, as best as you can make it. Another couple of breaths here, and again, you're welcome to rest early. You're welcome to stay longer. The end of the next exhale, when you're ready, we'll pause. Bring the nose all the way back to center. Now we're going to start to go around in the opposite direction. Start small. This side may feel very different in this direction. The movement mirrors the breath. The inhale lifts the nose, the exhale draws it down, any amount. And again, this is your practice, no one else's. The movement and the breath mirror it as best as they can. And there'll be places that feel a little more jagged than others, no big deal. We just do our breath to smooth it out, just like we did our best to smooth the breath. You can make those movements bigger, smaller. You can rest and simply imagine moving. But the breath is longer and smoother and softer. Another couple of movements here, unless you're already resting. And then at the end of the next exhale, the chin will come down a little towards the chest and we'll stay here for a few breaths. Collarbones fall wide, shoulders heavy, longer, smoother and softer breath. Maybe the back of the head lifts if the sensation along the back of the neck and the upper shoulders is too much, or the chin can drop a little if that's comfortable. The shoulders still over the pelvis and we're breathing. Staying for one more exhale, unless you're already resting. And then we inhale the crown of the head all the way up. Nicely done. From here, we're going to go to the right shoulder. So hands can be, I'm going to mirror you, so it'll be my left shoulder. So a hand can be on your thigh, it can be dangling next to you, elbow bent, elbow straight, really doesn't matter. We're going to start to circle with the shoulder. And again, we start small. The inhale lifts the shoulder, the exhale draws it down. Inhaling and exhaling. And that can be as big or as small as you like. And as long as the breath is longer, smoother and softer, then you're good. If the breath starts to get choppy, then it probably means that something doesn't feel right in your body. So coming back to a place of stillness, establishing the breath again, and then starting once more, or not, your choice. And just like the breath, longer, smoother and softer movements. And there'll be places that feel less smooth than others, but imagine with the head of your arm bone, you're trying to draw perfect circles. Inhaling and exhaling. And we're just imagining perfect circles, they don't have to be. All of our bodies are put together differently. And we've got a whole lot of stuff going on in them, so they don't have to be perfect circles at all. The end of the next exhale, or whenever it is that you're ready, we'll pause. And then we'll go around in the opposite direction. So whichever direction you were not doing before. And this may feel very different. Indeed, if you close your eyes, you can maybe start to tune into the sensations in your body. You might even not feel this in your shoulder. Inhaling and exhaling. You can rest at any time. You can make those movements smaller or bigger. Inhaling and exhaling. Longer, smoother, softer breaths. Longer, smoother, softer movement. And at the end of the next exhale, we're going to pause. And then take that hand back to the thigh or wherever is comfortable for you. Awareness to the left shoulder. I'm going to inhale up and exhale down. And again, this movement does not have to be big, and it's probably going to feel very different in the shoulder than the opposite shoulder. Inhaling and exhaling. Smooth as you can make it, just like the breath is smooth. Yeah. Inhaling, exhaling, always breathing, trying to smooth the movement and the breath as best as we can. And another couple on this side, unless you're already resting. Always changing and adapting things to feel better for you. Don't worry about a right or wrong way to do it. At the end of the exhale, we'll pause. And then take it round in the opposite direction. And again, this may feel very different. Inhaling and exhaling. A great way to tune into sensations of the body is to close your eyes. And it shuts everything else out so we can start to get really connected to the sensations in the different parts of our body. And maybe it's curious the way you feel this. Inhaling and exhaling. And then when you're ready, end of your next exhale, or whenever it feels good for you, we'll rest. Bring those shoulders back to center. I'm going to take the hands dangling next to us. And you can even take hold of the left hand on your chair or the seat of your chair if you like. I'm going to turn that right palm up. Leaving the top of the arm soft, we're going to bend from the elbow. So the inhale, we're going to lift the palm. On the exhale, we're going to turn the palm down. Consider the hand to be an expression of the breath. So the inhale is lifting the palm, and the exhale is lowering and grounding. Inhaling and exhaling. And if this feels good, then stay here. Your joints are soft, elbows, wrists, fingers, and thumbs. Or you can start to move from the shoulder. And don't worry about how high those fingers come. Inhaling and exhaling. Again, joints, soft, elbows, shoulders, wrists, fingers, and thumbs. Imagine that you're moving through molasses. Inhaling and exhaling. And this movement can be as big or as small as you like, but it mirrors the breath. Or if you like, you can start to reach through those fingertips a little more through the joints and get a little more stable. Inhaling and exhaling. You can even imagine the muscles hugging to the bones here. And if this doesn't feel right for you, coming back to a place where the joints are soft, or maybe even just simply bending from the elbows. If it feels comfortable for you, that right hand can come overhead, inhaling and exhaling. And this is where that hand on the side of the chair or the chair leg can feel comfortable, as if you're a little more stable. You can even start to reach with the right hand overhead towards the left. And we start to feel a little bit more length maybe on that right side. If you're noticing that right hip starting to lift, and I'm over exaggerating there, but starting to root down through the right sit bone, the right foot, inhaling and exhaling. You can always rest, you can always do less. Otherwise, we'll do another 2. Inhaling, the arm comes up any height, exhaling down. And more or less one more breath. You can always stay for as long as you prefer. Or the next time those fingertips come down, they'll stay. Hand to the thigh, or again, the side of the chair if you know that that works for you. Left palm turns up, left arm down. Top of the arm is soft, bending from the elbow, we inhale up. Palm turns down on the exhale. And again, you can adjust and adapt things for your body. So don't worry too much about a right and wrong here. And if the angle is different from my body, if it feels better coming up in front of you rather than at the side of you, then go ahead. This is just learning about what works in your body. Inhaling and exhaling. You can start to move from the shoulder if that feels good, and this may feel very different on this side. Don't worry about how high that hand comes up. We're mirroring the breath. The inhale, the arm up, the exhale, the palm down, again as if you're moving through honey. Inhaling and exhaling. Keeping the joints nice and soft, the movement fluid. You can start to reach through the joints a little more if that feels good. And again, you don't have to worry about how high that hand comes. You're working with your body today, and that may be very different from yesterday. Inhaling and exhaling. Maybe the muscles again start to feel like they're hugging towards a bone, or maybe you come back to a softer movement. Option to take those left fingertips over towards the right. If that doesn't feel good for you, no need to do it. And again, that hand can be on the side of the chair if that feels more stable. Inhaling and exhaling. Again, if that left sit bone feels like it's lifting, you can allow that sit bone to root down, and maybe you feel a little more length on the left side. The breath longer, smoother, and softer. The next time those fingertips come down, they'll come down and stay, hand to the thigh. Any movements you need in your body to just re-establish a center, go ahead. And then from there, hands are going to stay on the thighs. And then rooting down in through our feet, in through our seat, lifting up through the heart. Then on the inhale, imagine that I just hooked your heart and you're drawing your heart towards me. Shoulder blades come towards each other. And if the front ribs are pushing themselves out, consider knitting those front ribs in so just the heart comes out. It's not a very big movement. On the exhale, fingertips slide towards the knees, and imagine pushing through the back of your heart so the shoulder blades fall apart a little wider. On the inhale, heels of the hands draw up the thighs, and the heart comes out the front. On the exhale, the back of the heart gets the length. And this can feel really good, just opening the front of the chest, opening across the back of the shoulder blades. If you'd like to, you can stay here. If you want to add a little more, on that inhale, the belly is going to come out in front. So those ribs do come out this time. And on the exhale, the belly button's pushing in. We're going to sit back into the hammock of the back, and the fingertips come towards or on the kneecaps. Inhaling and exhaling, depending on the length of your bones, of course. Inhaling and exhaling. If you want to add into this, then you can lift the gaze, the chin on the inhale, the exhale, draw the chin towards the chest, and we get the cervical spine and neck involved as well. Inhaling and exhaling. And then the last little bit of this is on the inhale, if it feels good in your lower back, you can tilt the pelvis forward by imagining that tailbone that's coming out behind you. You can wiggle it behind you if you like, just like a tail. And on the exhale, just like a dog tucking its tail, draw the tailbone towards the knees and we round. Now this can be quite challenging if you have any lower back issues, so stay in a place that feels good for you. And that's going to be different for each of us. So inhaling and exhaling, a great way to tune into the sensations of your body, and what your body needs is to simply close your eyes. Inhaling and exhaling, seated cat and cow. Longer, smoother, softer breaths, longer, smoother, softer movements. Got another couple here, and again, if you want to rest, then rest. If you want to stay, then stay. Otherwise, at the end of the next exhale, we're going to pause and then come all the way back up to center. Take a big breath in if that feels comfortable. Exhale it out in your own time. We come back to that longer, smoother, softer breath. I'm going to take the hands dangling next to us. Again, shoulders back over the hips. And then from here, you can imagine that there's an imaginary wall behind you. So the back of your head, top of your shoulders, back of your pelvis could be resting up against that wall. From here, this is the inhale. On the exhale, the right hand is going to dip down a little bit towards the floor. On the inhale, we're going to come up, and on the exhale, we're going to go over towards the left. The shoulder and the hands and the arms really heavy, almost like a rag doll. And then from here, again, imagining that wall behind you. It's like drawing in of the belly in towards the spine, and that may feel like you're not going quite so far down. We're not in a competition as to how to get the fingertips as close towards the floor as we want. All we want is the length and the side of the body, and that's going to be different for each of us too. So if the movement feels better for you, being less, then take less, and you'll know because the breath will be still longer, smoother, and softer. Inhaling and exhaling. If you want to add a little bit more to this, you can take the hands over the chest, and all that does, it adds a little bit more upper body weight. So your core is having to do just a little more here, inhaling and exhaling. Again, that imaginary wall behind you. Move down through the feet, through the sit bones. As we come over to one side, the opposite sit bone likes to get a little lighter. I need to imagine that you could keep an evenness between the sit bones, so both of them stay heavy. And another couple either side. You can rest whenever you need to. Breath longer, smoother, and softer. And then when you're done, we'll take the hands back onto the thighs. Coming into a little bit of a twist. So keeping the feet, the knees, the hips facing forward. And that's really important here. As we come into a twist, I'm going to go towards the left side first and then towards the right. Now what normally happens is when we twist to one side, and I'm going to over-exaggerate here, is that the opposite hip likes to come with us. That means that we feel like we get a whole lot more twist in. That's why I went from the pelvis downwards. Imagine that everything's facing forward and it's staying there. Big breath in when you're ready, and we'll lift up through the crown of the head. The right hand will come to the top of the left thigh, outside, or it can slide down to that knee. The left hand can come to the side of the chair, or depending on the kind of chair you have, can slide through and touch the back of the chair, depending on if that feels comfortable in your body or works in any way. On the inhale, we lift up through the crown of the head, through rooting down through our seat and our feet. This is the inhale. On the exhale, we're going to glide our heart over towards the left. Back shoulder rolling down. Inhale, we come out a little bit. Exhale, we twist. Inhaling and exhaling, twisting. Hips, knees, and ankles facing forward. So a great way to find if we're moving from our pelvis and not just isolating into the spine is to close our eyes, root down through the right sit bone and notice if that's shifting in any amount. You can gaze over that left shoulder if it feels good in your neck. Inhaling and exhaling. You're welcome to stay pulsing, or if it feels comfortable for you, the next time we come around, we can stay. And if you're using a whole lot of leverage on your hands here, you could consider staying and hovering the hands. The muscles are doing the work, holding us here for another 2 breaths. Longer, smoother, and softer. Stay for the last exhale, whenever that is for you. And then if you haven't released the hands, we'll come all the way back to center. Coming to the other side. Again, everything from the pelvis downwards is really rooted. And from that rooting, we lift up. The left hand comes to the top, the outside, or towards the knee on the right side. And the right hand dangling next to you, holding onto the chair. Or again, depending on the chair you have enough room here to slip my hand back to the back of the chair, but that's not going to work for many bodies and many chairs. We root down through our pelvis down, and we lift up from that. This is the inhale. On the exhale, twisting gently towards the right. Inhaling out, exhaling, twisting. Notice what's happening in the pelvis, and if that left sit bone is sneaking forward, see if you can just tack it back a little so we really do isolate the twist into the spine. And you can pulse here if this feels good. You can always rest and come out if it doesn't feel good for you. Or the next time we twist, we stay. Gazing over the right shoulder only if it feels right in your neck. Breathing. Inhaling and exhaling. Longer, smoother, and softer. And then we'll stay for 1 more breath. Release the hands. And then gently on an inhale, we'll come back to center. Nicely done. Hoping that you're feeling okay. You're going to heel toe those legs to a comfortable distance apart. And that's going to be different for all of us. If you are snuggled into the back of your chair, maybe consider coming forward a little so we get a little more space. Coming into some goddess rolls. And our feet are more or less under our knees and feet going in the same direction. So if this is happening, but the knees are out, then just readjust things. And if those knees are flopping in, I know that does happen sometimes, then your work here is just to bring them out so they are over the ankles. And then from here, hands on your legs, your thighs, your knees, whatever's comfortable. Rooting down through the seat, through the feet, from there, rooting to rise. And then on the inhale, it's as if we're shining our heart forward, and on the exhale, drawing the belly in towards the spine. So we're getting these goddess rolls, inhaling and exhaling. And once you have the direction, I highly recommend just closing your eyes, tuning in, and allowing your body to take over the movement. Inhaling and exhaling. And these don't have to be big movements at all. Or you can get your hips, your shoulders, your neck, your head involved. Again, there's not a right or wrong way here. But it is a very controlled movement. Inhaling and exhaling. So there's not really any momentum involved in this, as with any of the other movements. We're controlling the movement. So it is a controlled range of motion. We just want the body to move for us. Inhaling and exhaling. Still that longer, smoother, softer movement. Longer, smoother, softer breath. You can keep going for as long as you like. Or the end of the exhale, we'll pause and we'll take that round in the opposite direction. And this may feel very different too. Allow yourselves to let go of what you think is the right thing here, and allow your body and your intuition to take over. Knowing that if you feel like you need to rest, then rest. Knowing if you want the movement to be smaller or bigger, then that's what you get to choose. Inhaling and exhaling. Another couple in this direction. Notice where you feel this. Notice the sensations in different places. And then at the end of the next exhale, you're going to pause and come back to center. Softening the gaze or closing the eyes or just tuning inwards. Start to establish the breath again, longer, smoother, and softer. And even come back to that count on the inhale, how long the inhales take, how long the exhales take, if that's helpful. And that number can change at any time. And then from here, I'm going to keep those legs wide. And from here we're going to get into a little bit of internal and external rotation. This is already external rotation. If you want to, I like to come forward a little more on my chair, but only as much as you feel stable. We're going to start on the right foot. You can keep the right foot down if you like. And then as we're coming into the movement, internal rotation, external rotation, you can roll over to the inside or outside of the foot if that's comfortable for you. Or pop up off that foot so we're on the the heel of that right foot. Right hand is on the knee. Everything else rooting to rise. We establish the breath longer, smoother, and softer. This is the inhale. On the exhale, we're going to guide that right knee inwards. Inhaling and exhaling. The foot, if the heel is on the floor only, it's almost like your foot is in a ski boot. We're just moving the hip, ball, and socket joint here. Inhaling and exhaling. Staying in a place that feels easy. Inhaling and exhaling. So you'll know if it feels easy because the breath is really easy too. Notice if you're trying to push down on the end of that exhale and widen and really push out on the top of the inhale, and see if you can stay at a place that feels a little easier to start with. Once we start to push the body, then the muscles start to contract, naturally just trying to protect us. But if we stay at a place that feels easy, then naturally the body feels safe and it starts to open up a little more. Inhaling and exhaling. You can always rest whenever you need to with the breath. You might even close your eyes and start to notice the sensations actually inside the hip and where it is that you're feeling this. Another couple of breaths. You can always rest whenever you need to. Keeping that left side as steady as you possibly can. Next time we come to that inhale, we're going to take that foot down. If it was up, you can reestablish your foundation from there. If you feel like it, a nice full inhale, whatever that means for you. Exhale it out. Add some softness in there. We do the same thing on the left side. Again, you can keep the foot down. I like to have my foot up because it works better in my body, but again, our bodies are all different, so take what you need. On the inhale, we have that external rotation. On the exhale, we have the internal rotation. And this may be very different on this side to the opposite hip. So instead of trying to compare the two, just simply go with what feels easy. And we want to stay in that easy place. Longer, smoother, softer breath. Inhaling and exhaling. Inhaling and exhaling. And again, staying in that place where the breath is easy. You can of course come back to that breath, that length of the inhale and exhale if that feels good to you. You can rest whenever you need to. Make the movement smaller if you're starting to feel like you're tensing up. Inhaling and exhaling. Another couple on this side. Always coming back to simply how it feels in your body. And at the end of that inhale, I'm going to take that foot down if it's not already and re-establish the feet. And then we're going to heel toe those feet in together. Give yourself little wiggles, waggles, anything that you need here. And then from there, you're going to root down through the feet. Knees and ankles, knees over ankles more or less. And then On the inhale, I'm gonna lift that right heel up. Exhale, taking it down, staying on the right side. Inhaling, lifting, exhaling, drawing down. And the more firm you are with the left foot on the earth, that lifting and lowering with the right heel is going to feel a little easier. Inhaling and exhaling. You can even lift the heels so much that the toes are right on their tippy toes there. Inhaling and exhaling. And this is a great place to stay. If you'd like to, rooting down into the left foot, we're going to lift up the right heel and stay there. Notice how this feels. And again, firmness on the left side will help with the lifting on the right. We can stay here, or flexing the foot on the right side. We inhale, the toes up, exhale, taking the toes down. You might already feel there's a whole lot going on in this right hip. Inhaling and exhaling. And if this is a lot, then come back to the lifting and lowering of the heels. And then from there, I'm going to lift those toes up, and maybe we stay. Breathing, inhaling and exhaling. We're just going to hang out here all day. Just kidding. And from there, gathering that knee in. And if you just rounded and slumped into the back of your chair, consider lifting up through the heart, and again, that crown of the head lifting up. And then with the toes, we're going to start to circle. Inhaling and exhaling, keeping it slow. So the inhale is still lifting the toes up, the exhale drawing it down, just like we did with the nose and the shoulders earlier. And then we'll go around in the opposite direction. The ankles never feel really smooth. So just as best as you can. And one more circle here. From there, getting into the hip a little more, that right hand in front of the right knee, left hand on the left thigh or the chair if you prefer, your choice. I'm going to draw that knee down. But make sure that the weight of the knee is taken in the hand. We're still lifting up here. A little flex in that right foot could help a little more controlled motion. And I'm going to start to circle with the knee. Inhaling and exhaling. We've already done external and internal rotation, so this is just working through that hip joint. And notice if your body is coming along with you. See if you can create stillness in the left side as much as you can. The inhale is still lifting the knee up, the exhale drawing it down. Doesn't have to be a big movement. Rest whenever you need to, keeping in one direction. If you want to add on, you can start to let go with the right hand and let the knee do the work for you. And actually the hips are doing the work for you. Got another 2 here, but we don't make the movement any faster. And on that next inhale, we'll draw that knee in. Take a big breath in. Exhale it out. Rest a little more if you need to, or I'm going to start to take that round in the opposite direction, and that's the direction you have to think about. So this was the easy one, and we'll take it in the opposite direction. It's the one that feels a little awkward. And again, we establish that foundation on the left side, the lifting up through the heart. And then the option here to release that hand, but not quicken the movement. Inhaling and exhaling. One more. And then the next time that comes round, we'll draw it in. And on an exhale, take the leg down. Any movements you need to relieve that right hip, go ahead. Rooting down through the feet. Rooting down through the right foot. On an inhale, we'll lift the left heel. Exhale, draw it down. And this can feel really jumpy, so if your heel is jumping up and jumping down, don't take the heel quite so high. Almost most, you can even imagine just a slip of paper sliding underneath, or it can come higher, your choice. More is not better here though. Inhaling and exhaling. We're always trying to establish just what works in your body. And you can take that up right to the tip of the toes or not, but we keep the movement as smooth as we possibly can. Inhaling and exhaling. And then we'll bring that heel all the way up if you're adding on. Again, that established foundation on the right side will help with the lifting of the left heel. You can stay here, or on an inhale, we lift the toes, exhale, tapping down. Staying in a breath that works for you. You can stay here, or the next time those toes come up, we keep it there. Again, that pushing down into the right foot is going to help. And stay here for a couple of breaths, longer, smoother, softer breaths. And then from there, we're going to draw that knee in. Any rounding here, we lift up. A little lift of the toes on the inhale. I'm going to start to circle in one direction. Inhaling and exhaling. Snap, crackle, and pops in there. And then we'll go around in the opposite direction. And then the left hand in front of that knee, right hand to thigh or chair, whatever feels comfortable for you. And the knee draws forward somewhat. And that's going to be different depending on the length of our bones. And then from there, we circle. Inhaling and exhaling. Doesn't have to be a big movement, but again, we want it easy. And if that ease means smaller, then it means smaller. And maybe if the rest of your body is coming along for that journey, we make the right side as still as possible. Option to start to hover those left hands, so the left leg is doing the work here. Keeping it smooth, keeping it steady as possible. With the breath, the inhale lifts, the exhale draws down. We've got one more to go. And then we'll draw that knee in, give it a little hug, you can rest it down on the floor, your choice. And then from there, well, the knee comes forward again and we take in the opposite direction. And if you've forgotten, then go to the place that feels easy and then go to the opposite direction, inhaling and exhaling, that hand in front of the knee. The firmer that right foot is, the easier it is with the left. And then from there you can let go of that hand or just ease off the pressure. And then your hips doing the work here. Inhaling and exhaling. The inhale lifting, the exhale drawing down. Two more. And the next exhale, you can draw that knee in or rest the foot on the floor, lifting up. And on that exhale, we'll take it down. Any movements you need here in your body, go ahead. We're going to come back. And this is where I get you to really rest into the back of that chair. And the legs can go out in front of you here. You can even tap your legs down a little bit. Any position here that feels really comfortable in your body. Don't worry about what it looks like, as always. Big breath in. Exhale it out. Soften the gaze or lower the gaze down. And turn your awareness inwards here. Notice if there's anything you can do in your body to allow yourself to be a little more comfortable. And again, don't worry about what this is like. And if you prefer to take relaxation lying down on the floor, if that's there for you, you can do that too. Anything that works. Take a moment here just to tune in. Notice sensations in your body. the loud, familiar places, the quiet places. And then tune into where you are supported underneath your feet, your seat, your back, anywhere else you're supported here. Trust that support and allow your muscles to relax so you can sink into that support just a little more. You can stay here with an easy breath or take a full breath in if you like. And at the top of that breath, the option to hold. Another sip of breath if you'd like, hold at the top. You're getting really full now. One more sip. Exhale it out. And with that exhale, any lost little bits of muscle tension that you can let go of, go ahead. And the breath with that lost exhale completely lets go too. The breath comes back to an easy breath. The crown of the head softening, relaxing the muscles of the face, as if the expression of your face just slides away and down. Neck, throat, inside and out, relax. Shoulders get soft, heavy. And from the shoulders all the way down through the upper arms, elbows, forearms, wrists, fingers and thumbs, even the palms of your hands get a little softer. Upper shoulders relax, shoulder blades, mid to upper back starts to let go. Lower back relaxes. Even your lower belly softens and starts to let go. The waistline all the way down to the hips. Pelvis is heavy and supportive. Hips release. Your legs from your hips all the way down, your thighs, upper legs. Even your knees inside and out start to release. Lower legs relax. Ankles, heels all the way to your tippy toes. Even the soles of your feet start to feel a little softer. And then we'll gather that awareness right up into your chest and your heart space. And imagine all those layers we wrap up our heart with many, many times a day. Imagine that the first layer, just like a gift, starts to open and the heart feels just a little bit more space there. And then from there, maybe you unwrap another layer or two, feeling just a little bit more freedom. Thoughts start to get a little further away as well. Everything easy. And then from there, and slide one hand onto your heart space and the other over top, or anything else that feels really good to you here. Any gesture at all. There's no right and wrong way to be. And bring somebody to mind who you deeply love. And get their image as clear as you possibly can. And then send them a whole lot of loving kindness right now, a whole lot of compassion. compassion and gratitude for them being in your life. And then allow that image to dissolve. And I want you to imagine as if you're looking at yourself in the mirror, just like you were maybe in the morning when you brush your teeth and you see yourself. Imagine your image as best as you can. And send yourself a whole lot of love and compassion. A whole lot of gratitude for just simply taking this time for yourself. Bowing your head when you're ready, if you'd like, chin towards your chest, honoring that great gift that you are, that you have inside of you, and all those gifts you have to share with the world. From my heart to yours, namaste. Keeping that connection, starting to notice how you're feeling. Start to notice your breath. And start to invite a little deeper breath in, a little longer breath out. And with that more established breath, we start to bring a little movement into our fingers, your toes. Rooting your feet down onto the floor. And with that quietness, that softness inside, and that gratitude, when you're ready, blinking your eyes open if you haven't already. And from my heart to yours, to each and every one of you, thank you for watching. Namaste. Please stay safe, stay well, and if there's enough people who watch this, then I'll keep doing this a couple of times a week. Thank you. Bye-bye.